Shalach, everyone. It is April 2nd. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. The most interesting part of the weather map today probably are the sneaker waves that are a possibility off of the Oregon coast and southern Washington. We're going to discuss the definition of a sneaker wave, but it's also affecting those people who are out hunting for razor crabs, which is common across Oregon early in the morning, a couple hours before high tide, or maybe it's low tide. But high tide occurs when the waves are the highest part of the day. And a sneaker wave is something that not many people have heard about, but it is a danger. The National Weather Service tells us it's a wave. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a wave that sneaks up on you. You can't really see it too well, but all of a sudden it kind of just goes much further inland than all the other waves. It's dangerous. It pulls people out to sea. That's something that if you're in Oregon or southern Washington, that's something that people should be looking out for. It's a hazard that is specifically for those areas in general. It doesn't really occur on the East Coast, and the crab razor hunters are also found in Oregon and southern Washington in particular. So that's something the National Weather Service says, that people should never turn their back to the ocean in those areas. And if someone, God forbid, does end up getting kind of swallowed into the ocean, they should not follow that person, but rather they should call 911. And in Yirtzeh Hashem, God willing, the person will be saved. Another real danger that's coming up this week will be another severe weather outbreak popping up in especially Louisiana starting Monday night, but the Monday night into Tuesday night, Wednesday moves into Mississippi, Alabama. The AccuWeather tells us that it's important, you don't even need them to tell you this, it's important to have, especially at night, to have an alert system, some type of a warning that will wake people up in the middle of the night, since there is a risk of tornadoes. Even without the tornadoes, we have damaging winds, but especially because of the tornadoes. This is a severe weather risk that is in response to a storm system that's going to be moving across the Texas area. There's actually a couple of them affecting the South Coast this week, and we also have a couple affecting the East Coast this week, and a couple that will be affecting the upper Midwest this week. We also have a storm system bringing 18 to 30 inches of snow to the Pacific Northwest, mountains in the Cascades, which are higher than 5,000 feet, along with 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Now, if you're at the 4,000 feet level, you could expect between 12 and 24 inches of snow. But once you hit the 5,000 feet level, those accumulations go up to 18 to 30 inches in some locations in the Washington Cascades, with wind gusts to 50 miles per hour. This is blizzard conditions easy. And when you hit the tree line area, which is not a designated area according by the National Weather Service, they don't give you a measurement, but it's the point in the altitude in which trees are no longer able to live for whatever reason, that area you could expect higher wind gusts than 50 miles per hour. Areas which are receiving rain, the highest amount that I saw was 3 to 6 inches of rain in some of those areas by Washington and perhaps Oregon as well. When you get to this is all on the eastern slopes of the Cascades and on the top, or perhaps the top parts of the mountains, but not on the west. But the eastern slopes. The eastern slopes. That's interesting, isn't it? Why should it be the eastern slopes? Shouldn't it be the western slopes? Well, whatever it is, the National Weather Service put the word eastern in there. So the National Weather Service forecasts discussion tells us that this will be happening on the eastern slopes, but a person might want to double check that to see if it really will be the eastern slope and not the western slope. In any case, we're going to be getting some areas, warmish bubbles taking place in the country this week. One of them in the upper Midwest. Temperatures on Monday are going to go into the 60s, possibly even low 70s, but lots of mid and upper 60s, which is going to be significantly warmer from what has been happening in places like Nebraska, Rapid City, South Dakota, temperatures going into the upper 60s on Monday. Now, what's interesting on Monday, however, Monday is the cool day when you get down south into Amarillo, Texas, as high temperatures may not even make it to 60. So it's the warmest day of the week for places up north like South Dakota and Nebraska, but it is the coolest day of the week, or one of the coolest days of the week, down south in Amarillo, Texas. This is probably due to sunshine, which is going to be occurring in the upper Midwest and the central and northern plains, but a storm system will be bringing clouds, and they will be on the north side of the front. Realize even upper 60s is still north of the main hot tropical heat. That front's going to be situated along the Gulf Coast this week. Amarillo, Texas, as we pointed out, that's a major highlight this week for weather enthusiasts, as sunshine brings those temperatures into the low 80s tomorrow. They do the regular 40-degree drop. That city does a 40-degree drop a lot of times between night and day. Not always, but a lot of times they do, along with Rio Grande Village, Texas. Temperatures going into the low 40s tomorrow night, and that front moves through. Highs are in the upper 50s. The air behind the front has temperatures in the upper 50s, but when you go further north, it warms into the upper 60s because of the sunshine. Now, that's the thunderstorms start occurring really on Monday, possibly even later tomorrow for places in southeast Oklahoma especially. But there is a cold front that starts to move into northeast Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon. That could bring some thunderstorms, possibly severe, a few isolated thunderstorms. But the main thunderstorm event comes for Monday. It really hits on Monday. And then this front seems to move back north as a warm front, and temperatures soar into the mid-80s. But listen to this. High temperatures Monday, upper 50s for Amarillo, Texas. So Monday night, temperatures go into the mid-30s. Of course, they go into the mid-30s. That's a normal temperature difference. I mean, that's, it's a little bit more than 20 degrees we're dealing with Amarillo, Texas. But the high on Tuesday, sunny, highs go into the mid-80s. Temperatures drop into the mid-30s again Tuesday night, as a cold front moves through and temperatures remain coolish on Wednesday. Amarillo, Texas, that's weather whiplash, and that's common, perhaps the most common in Amarillo, Texas, in this country. If you exclude the plains, even if you include the plains, it still might be the most common weather whiplash city in this country is Amarillo, Texas. Another big highlight that will be developing this week is a monster heat wave, extraordinary heat that's going to be developing in Texas for Wednesday and for Thursday. Some areas, there's going to be one day where the temperatures are just soaring well into the hundreds, and I don't know if that's Wednesday or Thursday. But we're going to see high temperatures in places like Falcon Lake, Texas, going up to 104 degrees. Brownsville, Texas, going up to 103 degrees. Brownsville, Texas will be breaking the record when it hits 103 degrees with the old record of 99. Houston, Texas, I believe as well, will be breaking a record. In Galveston, Texas as well, will be tying the record or possibly breaking the record. Only 84 degrees, but it's a record there. That city's so humid that it's difficult for the temperatures to get too warm. It's also surrounded by water, so it is certainly going to be hot when you factor in the heat index, and it will be a record, 84 degrees, and Brownsville breaking records, Falcon Lake breaking records. But when you look at the actual, in the Windy app, the European computer model, you'll see it accurately reflects exactly what all these forecasts are saying. But you will see some counties where they're forecasting a high above 104. In fact, one area, the forecast was 109. And 109, that's the highest I was able to see. I don't know if that's Wednesday or Thursday. When you go off to the desert Southwest, it actually starts to happen a day later than South Texas. So it's not something that seemingly is moving in from Arizona to Texas. If anything, it's doing it backwards. The Phoenix, Arizona National Weather Service last week has informed us that there's a high pressure ridge that's going to be developing over the Intermountain West area. That's the Rockies. and then moving to the Pacific. So it's expanding, I assume, and because things don't usually move westward, so the system probably itself, the thing is probably not moving westward, but I guess it's expanding. So we're going to get the heat first in Texas, then the heat goes into Arizona. Death Valley, California gets temperatures into the upper 90s to 100 degrees. But then as the heat starts to calm down in Arizona, we have another day of the most intense heat. Thursday, temperatures hit 103 for Death Valley, California. But of all the main cities, we have Falcon Lake, Texas at 104. That's the hottest that I've seen. And if you just look on the map, you'll see little spots without any names to these towns where the temperature would be 109 either Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday is going to be the day where temperatures are forecasted to be the most mild here in Chicago. Wednesday is also the day when the East Coast is forecasted to be the most mild. We have so many complex variables bringing in heat this time of the year that it's difficult to figure out exactly why certain places are going to be warmer on this day versus other days. It's not like the usual situation where we have heat coming from the west, moving east, and you could track it as it moves east. That's not going on this week. Everything's just chaos, total chaos, unless you really understand what's going on here. Because when you factor in the clouds, you factor in the sun, we have, as we pointed out, temperatures. The warm day for places up north is going to be Monday. The cool day for places in the south is going to be Monday as well. That's the sun and the cloud thing. It has nothing to do with any type of a cool air mass. There is a cool air mass moving from west to east, but nonetheless, it's going to be warm up in the north. And then you have the heat starting off in Texas and moving over to Arizona. You have the Chicago area and the East Coast having the warmest day this week, both of them on Wednesday. That's because of a cold front that's going to be moving off the coast by Thursday with thunderstorms on Thursday for the East Coast. Why is Chicago going to have a warm day Wednesday? Well, it could very well be that the Chicago high temperature might end up being relatively warm, about 60 degrees, but temperatures might drop in the afternoon if what it says on that European thing is that's actually what happens. Forecasts call for high temperatures again, upper 50s to low 60s for the Chicago area. And basically, really what that means is that the warm air is not going to make it here, that real tropical heat. But it also means that the cold air is not really going to make it here either for Wednesday. At least we're going to have a day away from the cold as well. It's also a little bit strange, even looking at cities close by, like Valparaiso, Indiana, as of right now, is forecasted to have their warmest day on Tuesday. Temperatures also approaching 60, but Wednesday also approaching 60, just a little bit less. So things are up and down, and there's a lot of complexities in figuring out the temperatures, which makes things not so simple as just heat moving from west to east. We have plenty of heat, which is moving. We have east to west, and we have heat that is moving from the south to north and north to south, or just heat developing up in the northern plains. The air behind the cold front is actually going to end up being warmer than the air ahead of it, and that's due to the clouds. Or that wasn't said exactly accurate. The air on the southern edge of the cooler air is colder than the air in the center because of the clouds, which in the higher humidity, which is at the southern edge. We have air quality issues for Texas, for Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas. National Weather Service has issued air quality alerts for high ozone. They're encouraging everyone to go bike riding tomorrow and to not use your car or to carpool. That's what they are encouraging everyone. They said the atmosphere is conducive for high ozone conditions for those areas. We have winter weather advisories, which are in effect for places. The Fairbanks National Weather Service is dealing with that. They canceled the blizzard warning, but wind chills are still going down to 50 below zero, 50, and this is April. Just unbelievable stuff. And those thunderstorms today in Orlando, those things move down south to Miami for tomorrow. The main system moves away from the area, but that front still continues to hang out, and there still will be some energy that will continue to produce thunderstorms for the many days over there, and the regular pop-up thunderstorms could pop up anywhere over there. The thunderstorm activity that you could track very easily going from west to east, starting in the Texas, Oklahoma area tomorrow, isolated pop-up storms, then moves on to the Louisiana area Monday, moving into the Mississippi, then Alabama area Tuesday. Even by Tuesday night, Wednesday, it's already off to the southeast. And on Thursday, it's up into the mid-Atlantic area already. New York will be getting precipitation tomorrow morning already. That's a low pressure system that's moving out of the Chicago area that brought some rain and even some snowfall to the Chicago area. Even a little bit of accumulation occurred this afternoon. That precipitation maker moves off to the East Coast. It doesn't look like it's going to be affecting Baltimore, but it will be affecting the New York area tomorrow. And then they have a complex situation as a series of low pressure systems affects their area from Tuesday to Thursday, just like the Midwest. Systems moving in the north jet stream and along the south jet stream. Chances of precipitation are high in the upper Midwest and high along the Gulf Coast. That's where you get the heaviest rainfall accumulations. And this week, we do expect the temperature to go higher than 105. Somewhere in this country, Texas, probably Texas, but possibly Death Valley, actually, the forecast high on Thursday is 106 degrees. That's for Death Valley, California. Temperatures are expected to go again to 106 degrees in Death Valley, California. India, they have, again, very hazardous breathing conditions over there. Very high pollution every day and every night. You could even see it in the air. Says the Weather Service, just haze all the time. The heat is just brutal. Temperatures of 105 to 110 degrees for many days this week. Overnight lows in the low and mid 70s. The one selling point over there is the fact that there still is no humidity yet. There's still no humidity. The humidity has returned to the Florida area and places in South Texas. Humidity has returned in that area as well. And when you go into Pago, Samoa, the dew point remains at 79. It's 79 always. Whenever I check, it's 79. Frost advisories. We go into Eureka, California, Eureka, California season for the frost advisories. They're just continuous. I remember from last year, and I'm seeing this again this year. Frost advisories for Eureka, California. We have special weather statements and along regards to freezes for the areas in Kentucky and Tennessee. We had freeze warnings last night in effect for places in southern Missouri. These are places where the growing season has already started and they're experiencing freezing temperatures. Chicago is not going to get a freeze warning, even though it's colder here, because the growing season hasn't even started. There are no crops which you have to bring in. There's nothing growing over here. Therefore, there's no freeze warnings for our area. That probably might cover the weather for this country this week. As I finish, I know I'm going to forget. I'll remember after I finish that I forgot to mention something, but I leave off with thank you for listening, and I wish everybody a good night and have a good week and a great remainder of your weekend.